These images come from the level the level that Dominic is currently working on. A lot of things are mixed and matched. There are textures that are not final. There are models that are not final. Nothing about this image is final. In fact, we had a leak of images from a little while back that some of you may have seen. And while the images themselves showed the alpha, with some solid progress, the downside of that leak is we weren't able to explain what I'm explaining right now, which is that none of it is final. And people, of course, jump to the conclusion that that this is what the alpha is going to look like, and it's absolutely not. Things that are still being discussed within the team. I mean, aside from the fact that there are unfinished models, that there are unfinished textures, that that there's lots of things to look at. Not all of it might be there. We're still discussing as a team how under construction we want Titanic to be. Do we want it to truly look like it's early in construction? Do we want it to be pretty much finished, but with a couple things missing, like that sort of thing? So in these images that you're going to see, I would say that this is the maximum amount of under construction that you would see Titanic in our alpha. We may clean it up a little bit, add more things, take some of the work benches out, that sort of thing. So we're still discussing as a team how we're going to present Titanic in terms of how much under construction she's going to be. So keep that in mind. And then yeah, there's some textures that are not final. I know in the leaked images, people had issues with the rust that Titanic was in. Something to keep in mind is that the steel used in shipbuilding then and today did have a rather rusty look. And it wasn't until it was painted in like a primer. In Titanic's case, it was like a red primer. So right now we're discussing as a team how much of it should be that bare steel look, which looks really like the steel texture, the rusty texture, if you want to call it that, looks great, but should it be the red primer? So we're discussing that. So you're going to see lots of textures in flux, lots of models in flux, and lots of construction elements in flux. So please take this lightly, but it's really cool to show off the work that Dominic is doing, putting all of our modelers' models together in the level for the first time. All right. That's, I think, as many things as I can tell you about it without showing it to you. So here is, let me get rid of this. Here is the first image. Which one should I show you first? The first image of our alpha. So you can see here, work in progress, not final version. You can see here the Foxel deck. The wood decking looks incredible. Dominic's been messing with the hue of it, the exact color of it. And this is another thing I meant to mention. In terms of textures being, changed and, making something look rusty versus making something look brand new. An important thing to remember is that in terms of textures, to change something from rusty to red primer to final paint takes like 5 seconds if you have the texture, of course. You just click on the object, change the texture, and Dominic was even showing it to me, and I made him change like everything on the ship to pink, just because. See what pink Titanic looks like. So yeah, so here's our first image. Let's show another one here. This is from another angle on the Foxel deck. You can see that the first hatch there is in a very bare steel look, so it's not been painted yet. And in the back there, you can see a white wooden box situation that is taken from, I believe there's a texture going on that. I'm not sure if that's painted white or if there's no texture on it yet, but that is taken from images of Titanic under construction and other Harlan Wolff ships under construction. That is we'll call it a portable restroom for the workers. Very cool. Let's jump to another image. Let's go down to the forward well deck. So this is something that people saw in some of the leaked images. how rusty things appear. What that is just the bare steel being used to put the ship together. And you can see that this is the well deck before any wood decking was put on. You can see the different storytelling elements, like different props laying around. There's a canvas over the well deck, or the hatch cover. These are just things to add a little storytelling that takes like no time, really. Like a lot of these objects, for example, are taken off a marketplace, like Unreal Marketplace, so we can just like clutter up the deck and show what it might have looked like under construction. And then these the steel plating, something that people mentioned a lot is, why do the steel plating? Well, a big reason we're doing the steel plating is if you go underneath the well deck and go on the deck below, you would see the steel plating from underneath. Basically any deck except for first and second class, usually. If you look up, you're looking at the steel decking, so the steel plating underneath the decking. So we have to do this anyway, and so this gives us a great opportunity to let us see Titanic like we usually don't get to see her. Certainly not in color like this, and certainly not explorable like this. Very, very cool. Let's jump to a little view from up on the superstructure. You can see more of the forward well deck. A big thing to note, you can see that the breakwater is like pink. That is an object that does not have its texture yet. It's also, I believe, not correctly proportioned. It needs to be sized down just a little bit. It's a little too tall, that sort of thing. All little tweaks that need to be made to this and that. And you can see the most dominant object on the forward well deck are these massive boiler people. These boilers are supply steam to things on deck that need to be used. Like I'm not great at describing these, and I apologize. But if you need to operate anything on deck to build the ship, you need steam to do it, and you need boilers in some fashion. And the boilers aren't on the ship yet, so there they are in that capacity. Let's see, is this another one? You can see in this image in the background, we have the massive floating crane, which is going to be looming over the forecastle deck as you explore, which is very cool. I've seen it from below. It's pretty cool to see. Here's an image that features a little bit of that primer we were talking about. So this is the forecastle deck with a couple planks missing, so we can sort of have that storytelling element. And the plates here have been red primered. We're still deciding on the shade of red. We have researchers looking into, like what red should we really go with? This is what we have right now, and you can see there's chalk marks on it. They would use chalk to make marks. And yeah, there's that breakwater again with its pink texture. Needs to be finalized there. And then I'll show, let me see which ones I haven't shown yet. I know there's at least one more that I have not shown. Oh, here we go. This one's really fun for me. And I'm sorry I'm not reading the chat. I hope people are enjoying it. Love me some boilers. Love the coal. Very original thinking. Good history. Thank you, Chris Butler. That's exactly what we were going for. Oh, we got some beers, some beer money from Ray Purchase. Thank you, Ray Purchase, for 35 GBP. Great Britain pound. Is that right? I don't know. This is a cool way to show how Titanic looked during construction. Thank you, Captain Mikey. So yeah, cool. People like it. That's nice to see. And of course, as I mentioned, we are not, this is not final. For example, this image that we're looking at right here. This is the forward hatch, obviously. It's down on the deck, on the dock side. So you can see it from the forecastle. It's not been installed yet. And in subsequent updates, as you explore further and further into Titanic, the forecastle will slowly become fully finished and the forward hatch will be added. And you can see it's been painted white, but it's, got a really great dirty texture all over it. Shipyards are a dirty place. And so this is a good example of something that you may get the first release of the Alpha, and this may be in its final position. We haven't quite decided where things are going to go, but this is a cool starting point to have such a key and large element of the forecastle deck down on the dock side, waiting to be installed. Last one, I'm saving this one for last because this is cool. This is something that I don't think we've actually said out loud. I think I've joked about it. We have a cool idea to make the early alpha a little more interesting, because we know we're releasing the forecastle deck first, forward well deck, and we're going to move our way through the ship. And early on, people are going to get claustrophobic. So we're going to let you stretch your legs a little bit. Not in the initial release. It might be like the third update or second update, I suppose. We are going to allow the player to explore all of B deck essentially in its unfinished state and walk around through the walls and whatnot, even if they are just bare steel and there's not a lot going on in there because we haven't started working on it. So, for example, you could walk through the cabins that haven't even been touched. They're just bare steel cabins. Perhaps there's some chalk markings about where, certain things should go, and cut this out for a door. I don't know. So you can see the expanse of B deck and stretch your legs a little bit and imagine what it's going to look like when we get there. And so this is an image of a very unique view of what B deck looks like with no walls whatsoever. So this is kind of cool. So you can see just how massive this deck is with nothing in it. The only thing